sat down and noticed that Ozzy Osbourne is sat in the next kind of booth area and what have you, with his wife.
Rick Astley, what a huge pleasure to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we're talking about your tour. You're going on tour. So how are you feeling about that? Is that an exciting time for you?
Yeah, it is. It's the best part of it, to be honest. I think a lot of the world I'm in is absolute nonsense, to be honest. And when we get to go out and do gigs, you suddenly remember, oh, yeah, that's why we do this.
You've got the wonderful Gabrielle supporting.
Oh, yeah. She's toured with us before, and it's amazing because her songs are fantastic. I saw her early on in her career. A friend and I went into town, listen to me, that London. And I can't remember where it was, but it wasn't a massive venue because she wasn't, a big star at that point. She just sort of, and I just came away from the gig thinking, like, her voice is amazing and she's got a very distinctive voice. And I think that's one of the things that's probably given her such a long career is that she doesn't sound like anybody else. Just the songs are really, really good. And some of her songs have really stood the test of time, even though they were very, very contemporary at the time. They sounded like, well, this sounds really current and da-da-da-da, but they still sound great today. And not everyone's do.
Looking back at your career, obviously you've seen huge success, huge adulation. You've had periods that were a bit quieter. When you look at that period, sort of 90s, noughties, was there a point where you thought, actually, maybe I'm gonna go off and do something else now. I'm not going to be a musician.
Well, I retired when I was 27, I think. So I don't know what year that would be, but it'd be the mid-90s or what have you. I was still hanging on in there a little bit. But I knew I wasn't really going to have another hit unless, lightning strikes twice or whatever. I probably could have hung on to a record deal and made a few more records, who knows. But it was just like, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't really want to do it. I think I'd condensed an awful lot into 4 or 5 years, and I'd kind of done it, I'd done it as a solo artist kind of on my own. I did have people who worked with me and travelled me and all that, but it's not the same as being that dude. And I think I was just done with it, and we'd become parents, and I used to look at the beautiful, lovely home that I had with a newborn daughter in it, going, well, I'm off to promote records in wherever right now, and think that I don't really want to do. I don't want to do this anymore. And I kind of felt like, well, maybe it's time to quit then. So I wasn't at the peak of my powers, no way. And I think it was just a bit like the good boxers know when to quit. And I think it was time for me to quit. So, and I really enjoyed my time away from it. I would have liked to have been a songwriter and producer, and that was my aim. And I just don't have it. I think I can write songs for myself. And I think it's a different talent to do it for other people.
Talk about Rickrolling.
Yes.
Which is still one of the maddest things, I think, that's happened
Certainly
to
is.
a lot of artists of your sort of generation.
Indeed.
What was the first time that someone mentioned this to you? When did you realise how big it was going to be?
Well, I was on holiday. I seem to get a lot of holidays in, thank heavens.
Where were you?
I was in Italy. I was on the Amalfi Coast. And I was with my wife and her parents. And my friend, who's English but lives in America, he's a big songwriter and producer. He rickrolled me, and I obviously didn't know what that was. I just got an email. The video starts of whatever it was, I can't remember. Probably something to do with football or whatever it was, or something to do with keyboards, knowing him. And then like 10 seconds in, at the appropriate moment, it goes into the song Never Gonna Give You Up, the video. So I'm like, okay, maybe you find that funny, Andrew, but I don't particularly, but whatever. So I emailed him that back. Then he did it again, but with a different sequence, like a different opening, and then back into Never Gonna Give You Up. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? So in the end, I actually called him. I went old school and called him. And he said, what do you mean you don't know what it is? And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he said, I'm rickrolling you. He said, I'm rickrolling the Rick and Rickroll. I'm rickrolling you. And he's like, I actually don't know what you're talking about. This is a long time ago, by the way. So he explained it to me, and I still didn't know what he was talking about. So I kind of just sort of thought, okay, fine, and just, passed it off as like today's whatever, nonsense. And then it kind of hung around a little bit more, and then it blew up a little bit and kind of went a bit bonkers for a minute. And I spoke to our daughter about it, and she was in her teenage years at that point. She's 33 now. And she kind of sort of passed it off as well and sort of said, don't worry about it. It'll be over tomorrow, Next week, everyone will be doing something else. And it has been a bit of a weird thing to have an old song find its spot in, the internet universe.
I wanted to talk to you about the video because it's obviously iconic. And I understand that you You got told to just turn up with a bag of your own clothes.
Yeah, because I was on the promo trail at that point. We were 4 or 5 weeks in, and I'd never been on a video shoot before. And I think someone was there to style me and probably brought stuff that I was like, nah, I'm not wearing that, love. And so, yeah, I had a raincoat with me. I had my stripy T-shirt, my blazer, my chinos, double denim, boom.
Amazing.
And, yeah, just thought, I think I'm going to wear that. And somebody gave me a pair of Ray-Bans because it was really sunny. It was just one of those amazing, beautiful days in London where it was gorgeous and I couldn't keep my eyes open. So, like, I think the DP, the director of photography, said, oh, put these on. So I put the Ray-Bans on. I'm like, yeah, quite like them.
You've got a lovely story that you tell about Ozzy Osbourne.
There's a hotel in Los Angeles that is a very music, it's called the Sunset Marquis. It's a very music-orientated hotel. Loads of artists stay there. I mean, I've literally been sat next to U2, Depeche Mode, endless amounts of people, you know, the drum and the bass player from the Smiths, just endless. Go into the bar, we're on our way to go somewhere, and the bar was tiny in those days. It's now all kind of like quite shishy, and, you know, people go there just for a drink. But back in the day, the bar was like somewhere you just nipped into before you went out or when you came home. So I walked in there for a Diet Coke, sat down, and noticed that Ozzy Osbourne is sat in the next kind of booth area and what have you, with his wife. I didn't know that was Sharon Osbourne at the time, but it was his wife, you know. He leans over and he sort of says, I'm not going to do the accent. I'm not going to try and do the accent. But he leaned over and he said, you're that kid, aren't you? You're that, what's his name? I said, yeah, I am. He said, oh, great. He said, how's it all going? I said, it's great. He said, are you over here touring? I said, oh, no, we haven't started playing live yet even. I'm just on my first couple of singles and what have you, you know. He said, because if you want to put a band together, I've worked with all the greatest musicians in the world. To his credit, he has. Like, legends have come out of his band. Some of the greatest guitar players in the world have played in his band, and bass players and drummers. So at this point, Sharon leans over and says, leave that poor boy alone, will you? He doesn't want to go and play with any of your tattooed monsters. He's a nice lad. Leave him alone. In that moment, it's like, just the fact that he acknowledged me, I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, that was pretty... But the fact that she just obliterated him in like, you know, but in a loving way, by the way, but like kind of like just put him straight, like, you're dreaming. He sings pop songs. Your tattooed monsters aren't going anywhere near him. I just thought it was hilarious.
That says lovely things about both of them.
Both of them, yeah, exactly.
That's a really, really
exactly.
lovely
It does.
story.
It does.
Rick, I could talk to you all day. You are such a pleasure to talk to, but thank you
my love.
so much.
And
I urge everyone to go and see the tour.
Thank you.
This is